I think if I say it in a somewhat poetic way, it's for the joy of creation. But the reality is always, pretty much from very early days since I graduated from college, I have wanted to, and I have tried, and sometimes I have succeeded, and sometimes I have not succeeded so much. But I have always had a bit of an entrepreneur in me. Even in the very early stages, when I had just graduated from college, I went to the US pretty much right after. Even there, 2.5 years into that country, I had started a company, and that time I was on a visa in the US, so I had to go through a lot of formalities to get my own visa through a company that I had started. So even those things, so it's something that has always been there in me, and this is not my first entrepreneurial attempt. The pain point was that there was no easy place, no easy to use place where people could go and buy, sell, rent a variety of things from each other. We did have a lot of platforms which had been around for a while, and they would help you buy, things ranging from cars to real estate, more from businesses, but there was no real platform for people to go and conduct transactions with each other. And there certainly was no platform where people could go and buy more day-to-day things from each other, whether it's use phones or use televisions. And in some ways, in many ways, Quikr was inspired by a fun project that I had did right before, which was I was shooting a movie across the US and India. I had taken some time off from work to do that, and I realized that I could actually put together a lot of the talent for that movie. So nothing to do with products. Now we are talking of hiring actors and cinematographer and lighting artists and so on. I could hire people like that in the US when I was shooting in the US from a platform called Craigslist, but nothing like that existed in India when I came to India, Old Delhi in fact, to shoot my India sequences. So that also got my mind thinking a little bit about the fact that something like Quikr could be a lot of fun in India. Quikr is a very broad platform, and it's always been that way right from the very early days. So it's a very hard question to answer because there's no definitive one type of user. You see, people will always talk about businesses in more academic terms, and so they will always, you're supposed to have a target audience. But I would say Quikr's target audience in some ways has evolved with the profile of Indian internet users. When we had only very few and maybe relatively young people using internet, Quikr's users were young people using the internet. And today, when pretty much people from all walks of life and all ages are using the internet, again, Quikr's user base reflects that. So our target segment cuts across our society. Quikr is differentiated because, first of all, Quikr is quicker and others are not. So, this is a platform that's about ease. It's about convenience to the consumer, and it helps if you are the fastest platform to deliver a finished transaction to a user. But in a more philosophical sense, Quikr is a made in India, made for India company. So unlike others who we compete with, Quikr has a wide set of businesses ranging from consumer to consumer transactions to real estate to cars to services and so on. One thing that distinguishes us from many of the other people who compete in this space is we have customized our businesses extremely well to what the Indian population needs. A lot of people go wrong in trying to think that if something has worked outside of the country, you bring it here and you just it'll work by itself. It almost never happens that way, and certainly in Quikr's businesses, which are more local classifieds, it's impossible to make it work that way. It's a local business. People think of Quikr as an India company. In my mind, when I manage my business day to day, there's nothing called Quikr India. Quikr India is a collection of Quikr Bombay, Quikr Delhi, Quikr Bangalore, and so on. And each of these cities has its own personality. So it's such a local business, you need to manage it at a city level, forget about the country level. So one thing that, again, coming back to the question that we differentiate ourselves really well on is tailoring our business according to the needs of the local population. So of course, the vision has evolved. I'll be lying if I tell you that the day I started Quikr, I knew this is exactly where we'll be sitting today. See, building a company is like a company is a living organism. It evolves, it develops like people, and it faces challenges and it has opportunities like people. If you look at Quikr's vision when we started, it was very simple. It is still simple today, but it's a little more ambitious, I would say. But initially, the idea was simply to create a simple platform where, like I said, people can come and they can buy, sell, rent, or find a variety of things from each other. So it was a simple platform which gave you the same experience of buying or selling, whether you were looking at real estate or goods or cars or something else. Over time, because it was so simple, and because internet speeds were even worse in India than they are today, and because the number of internet users in India were far fewer, and because we were a little company, it made sense for us to stay simple. Same experience across all categories. Smaller technology team can do that. You don't need to invest a lot in marketing. The user is not ready for a very rich experience like maps and real estate or inspection report in cars. But over time, what I started observing was that several things had changed. Number one, India had far more internet users. India, the internet speeds were better, even if they seem bad to us, they were worse at one point. People were beginning to look for a more sophisticated, richer experience. And Quikr was not a small company anymore. We had, more credibility in the market. We had one of the best-known brands in the internet space, and we had a little more resources to be able to go deeper in individual categories. So that's when our vision evolved from being a simple to use, consistent across categories platform to still a simple to use but specific to categories type platform, which means Quikr Homes today, while it's a part of Quikr, looks very different from Quikr Cars, which looks different from Quikr Jobs. So now each of these products that we have built, they are specifically tailored to the needs of that category. So the vision evolved to providing a more sophisticated experience to user, but still in a simple way. So yeah, I mean, all companies evolve. Certainly, I think all good companies should evolve. It's a very theoretical view to think that there is one thing and you just keep going after that. You need to be dynamic, especially in this industry. So you're talking of the fabled ease of entry segment of your model, I suppose. It's a very easy business to enter, but it's very hard to make it work. I think that's the best way to put it, because at a first blush, you'll feel anybody can slap together a website. Quikr, before we launched an app, it was a 4-page website. There was a home page, there was a post and ad page, there is a look at an ad page, and there is a what is the one I'm forgetting? There is a reply to the ad page. These 4 pages basically made the entire website, and even in the app, it's the same 4 pages. But I think what goes into this making this business successful is not just making a nice looking website and keeping it very simple. Ultimately, this is a marketplace which basically thrives on how many buyers are there and how many sellers are there. I could have the best website in the world, but if there is nobody selling anything on it, then the buyer doesn't know what to buy. So the reason it's difficult to make it successful is that requires time, that requires patience, that requires investment, and that requires getting a lot of little things right. For example, do you go for growth in the number of listings, or do you go for increasing the quality of your listings? And there's a constant trade-off in this business. Today, for example, now Quikr is at a scale where I care less about the number of listings than the quality of listings. Because if you are trying to buy a car on Quikr Cars, you don't care if Quikr has 1 million car listings or 5 million car listings. What you care for is, will you be able to easily find 10 cars, of the kind that you're looking to buy in the city that you're looking to buy them in. So now quality of listings has become at least as important, if not more, than the numbers. But there was a point in time, and of course quality was important, but we were not as focused on richness and images of cars and so on. It was more about, let's at least get as many buyers as possible. Or as many sellers as possible in this case. So I think it's a easy to enter but difficult to execute on business. We have literally hundreds of people here who have been doing two things. One is writing software that helps us detect bad quality images, or rather listings, and cut them out, or good quality listings and give them a higher priority. And secondly, a very large number of people who actually still review these listings after they have gone through our software filters. So, we think quality, like I was saying, at our scale, quality is extremely important, because otherwise what can happen is, if you don't delete suboptimal quality listings frequently, then your good quality listings can get lost in them. So sort of the signal can get lost in the noise, and the buyer will not be able to even find those good quality cars you have. So we take it very seriously, and we use a combination of software and people to solve that problem, because you always have a layer of human judgment, which will have its importance in any business. It's very difficult to make everything fully automated in any business. We deliver the responses to them faster, and we've done a lot of things in our platform, in our technology, to connect buyers and sellers at the fastest speed possible. And that's, it started more as a joke, that because our name is Quikr, how can we, what are the things we could do quicker in the company. But slowly we realized that the most delightful thing we could do for our consumers would be to, my definition of nirvana in my business for a consumer is, he comes, he posts a listing, and within 3 minutes of posting that listing, he gets 3 or 4 phone calls. That's when he may not do the transaction based on those phone calls, but at least that this thing works. So I think differentiation for me is first about speed. Second, it's about building a business for, again, India. It's very fashionable to think that I can get a model from outside and just copy it in India. Never works. No, actually, we started the reverse way, and then along the way we learned that. So let me explain what I'm saying. Quikr started as a simple across India platform, and it still is. But I would say maybe it was a good 3 years into the company that something struck me, that depth in a city is more important than maybe a shallow presence in a number of cities. So I'm going to say something that's probably going to come as a surprise to many people. But see, if we had limited resources today, everybody has limited resources, but we have enough resources to go pan India. But if I was to look back two three years into the company, at that point, I think we started focusing more on going deep in a few cities. And the reason for that is very simple. The reason is, if I am sitting in Bombay and I'm listing a phone for sale, and you are sitting in Delhi and you want to buy that phone, before Quikr Doorstep got launched, which we just launched earlier this week, there was no way for us to transact. So Quikr was better off having buyers and sellers in the same city, which means if it can have only 2 users, it is better off having those 2 users, buyer and seller, in the same city, which means depth in a city is more important than breadth across the country when you are a young company with limited resources. So, that's something that we invested a lot of efforts in. If I talk about our brand, it's in the business of providing delightful transactions to consumers. And the reason, each of those words is a bit important. Transactions is obvious. It's about buying, selling, etc. Consumers is important. It's a place for people to buy, sell from each other. Delightful is a word that I'm kind of inserting there, especially because it's a bit of a feeling of magic in a consumer's mind if an app or a mobile site or a website can locate a buyer for something that they have just lying spare at home. And it's not easy otherwise. People don't expect that very quickly I can find somebody who wants to pay me for something that I don't have much of a use for, but it's still in good quality. And if a company can help you find that kind of a person very quickly from this big bad world, I think that does provide a certain level of delight to people. It's like free money sitting at home. So yeah, that's what I define our brand as. We will help you get your job done fastest. I think that is the best way to sum it up. It has two meanings. It works at two layers. Aasan hai badalna, in a very functional sense, it is something that every user of Quikr and every business of ours does. For example, I'm here to change my phone. So a person comes to sell a phone on Quikr if they are buying a new phone. Typically, it's not just that they are out of money and they're selling. So they're changing their phone, they're changing their car, they're changing their house, they're changing their job. So Aasan hai badalna in that sense. But in a higher elevated sense, all these activities that I just mentioned and everything else that happens on Quikr, it's about helping people take the next step in something in their life. So it's also about, in a very larger sense, you can say it's about, it's easy to change your life. It's easier than you think. And Quikr has a small role to play, but I think the larger message to the consumer is it is easy to change. So if there's one person in Quikr that spends more time on customer feedback than or user feedback than others, then I would say I'm a pretty strong contender for that to this day. I think you always learn from your users in this business than you do by theorizing, sitting in air-conditioned rooms. So it's something that I am very close to myself. One very recent example of that would be, we were observing for the last 2-3 years that we've invested a lot in building a big platform which gets people to buy, sell from each other, but it's a very messy transaction. If I'm trying to sell something, then I'll get 20 phone calls, then I forget who said what, I'm haggling with 20 people, maybe 10 of them actually land up at my house and they are coming at random times. I have to show my product to them. So that's when we said we will solve this problem with payment and logistics enabled by Quikr, and we launched something called Quikr Doorstep, which allows you to pay a person. You don't have to meet them, and the transaction, your money is safe till the product reaches you, and then you still have the right to return it. So payment is enabled through Quikr, and also logistics, the entire pickup delivery is handled by Quikr. So in a way, it brings the convenience of new product e-commerce to these kinds of transactions. Consumer to consumer transactions, and I think that's one of the best examples I can think of right now. Impact of this change, if I talk about it externally, I think this is something that is changing the whole consumer to consumer buying, selling in the country. It's reshaping an industry because gone are the days, in my view, when platforms like Quikr could just say to the consumer, we'll connect the buyer and the seller, and you guys go and figure the rest. I think we have a much stronger proposition for the consumer if we say, no, we will actually hold your hand through this whole thing, and we'll keep you safe in this transaction in terms of financially and otherwise. And internally, this is a huge change for us as a company. I think I'm not kidding when I say it has rocked our world. It has changed the way we look at Quikr as a business from inside and the kind of things we worry about. Yeah, so the question is about keeping users' needs in mind when designing your products. I can't overemphasize its importance in the digital world, especially because in platforms like Quikr, internet platforms, mobile platforms, it's very easy to test and see what your consumers want. So you don't need to invest crores and crores and crores of rupees to test a new feature. You need to invest more emotion, passion, time, energy into those kinds of things. I think one great example would be if there's this whole wave in the internet world. I think it's kind of people now are waking up from it, but earlier it was all about, let's keep the platform so simple, let's make everything look like Google, and let's have just one little search bar, and that's it, and the platform will look so much better and it will do so much better. That Google is a great company, and that interface works great for their business. They're in the business of search. So when we were initially launching our vertical products for cars and houses, etc., all our products had the same interface. Everybody wanted to have like one sleek search bar, and that's it. If I'm here to search a house or search a car or whatnot. But we realized that India, Quikr is a more transactional platform where people have more defined needs. I know I'm looking to buy a used Maruti, or I know I'm going to buy a house in Bandra or whatever. So And in our business, Indian population browses first before searching. So it was important to provide people some links, even though conventional wisdom is about, hey, let's make this thing look sexy by just providing one search bar. So it was just, it's something we started testing, and we realized that people are responding much better to a few other links below that sexy search bar as well. So, and at any point in time, this is an ongoing thing in Quikr. We, at any point, including today, I'm sure it's no exception, we would probably have 100 different tests running in different cities of Quikr about our user interface, and we always are testing and learning from the consumer as to what they really want. So acquisitions, in the case of Quikr, see, acquisitions are done for different reasons. Sometimes people acquire companies to get in some capability. Sometimes they acquire companies to get into a new business that they are not present in, or to enter a new geography they are not present in. None of those were the reasons why we acquired Common Floor or Realty Compass. It was more, we are always evaluating M&A opportunities, where we could acquire smaller platforms. But our idea is simple. We are going to acquire to get more scale. I think we have great set of capabilities already in Quikr. We also have, we have these 5 businesses that we are building: Quikr Cars, Quikr Jobs, and so on. We are not going to acquire a company to get into a completely new business. I think we have 5 big opportunities we are following, and so we are going to evaluate acquisitions either that help us further gain scale, or grow faster, grow quicker, right? So in my industry, time is money. So if something can help me get to my goal faster, it's worth its weight in gold. So it's about acceleration of growth / scale more than anything else. Quikr makes most of its revenue from lead generation, where it provides customer leads to small businesses, or premium listings they post on Quikr, and now increasingly also from commission of transactions that are happening through Quikr. We could have made Quikr into an advertising platform where we say we'll only make money from advertising, and there still are companies in our business in India that think advertising is a good business model, and they just basically count page views because that's where you can run more and more ads for your users. But uh, I don't think that's the smartest way to make money in this business. Quikr is a platform which here people don't come to read quick cricket scores and Bollywood gossip. They come to buy, sell, etc. So there has to be a better way to make money out of this than just showing them ads. Started with premium listings, then got into lead generation, and now we are also into commission. So one way to look at it is we are getting closer to where the transaction really happens. Initially it was just pay me for the listing, and then then you'll get more responses. Then it became, I'll actually give you a phone number to call of a customer, and now it's, I'll get your transaction done and then you pay me. There is no silver bullet on this one. I think your partner, potential partner, co-founder can come from any side and from any walk of life. A lot of people find natural co-founders in a set of friends where who they have known from earlier, and I don't think there is anything bad about that. There's a certain level of trust and chemistry that comes with that. There's also challenges sometimes, but still I think there's nothing wrong with that segment. Second, I would also advise you to expand your horizons a little bit more and talk to more people. Go to maybe events, etc., where you can meet like-minded people who are looking to start companies. I think it's a lower probability event, but that also does happen, where companies get started by 2 people who met at a networking event. But I think it's more likely than not personal connections that bring people together and they end up starting something together. Depends on the people. I think, at a young stage, companies are so chaotic. It's almost better to not, structure them too much. So everybody wears many hats. Based on each person's skills, you can have a rough idea of division. But I think it's going to be a recipe for failure if you actually try to say, I'm going to only do marketing and I'll not touch product, and the other guy will only do product and I'll not let him do marketing. You need to, even to this day, I take pains to make sure that Quikr doesn't become too structured. I think you need to almost remain a little unstructured. It was tough. I started Quikr in the same year when Lehman Brothers shut down, and the financial services industry, the way we knew it before, ended world over. So it was a strong sort of period of recession. First 1 or 2 years were tough for us. We found some early believers. Matrix Partners was our first investor. Second was Omidyar. I must have in that period gone to every single VC that I could think of in this country, but nobody would buy my story, because ultimately investors are also human beings, and they also get influenced by what they read in the papers and the market sentiment around them. And it's hard for them to see which one will work and which company will not. So initial years were tough, but I think after the first 2 to 3 rounds, maybe 3 rounds, we didn't really have trouble accessing capital, because the core growth drivers in our business were extremely strong, and it was very obvious looking at the data. I would say practical and more to the ground in terms of the realities of your business, as opposed to focusing on building 8-year business plan. I mean, of course, every investor would need a projection for their own analysis of how your business is going to evolve, but make sure that you bring in enough nuances of the challenges and opportunities in your business, which are more immediate, as opposed to focusing only on your Excel projection of what will happen in the 8th year. There's a reason why investors will be talking to you, and they already know, chances are they know it's a good space. That's why you have a detailed conversation with them. So it's more important for you to differentiate on what you're doing in the next 1 to 2 to 3 years, and what your immediate strategy is. And the second is be confident. Yeah, it takes two to tango, and investors and entrepreneurs, they are two sides of a good equation. So sometimes maybe one has the upper hand and sometimes the other does, but I think overall it's a relationship of equals. So you don't need to feel like you should be talking from a position of strength. You have to do fewer PowerPoints as your company grows, I can tell you that. And slide making does help. My dark years in management consulting did teach me how to make good slides, and I think that's helpful. No, but I think it's a kind of obvious set of things that you need to talk about, right? There's no rocket science to it. You need to talk about high level market opportunity. You need to talk about your product. Extremely importantly, you need to talk about your team. I think it's a mistake if you're going to go there and not tell people that you've built a good team, assuming you have a good team. Otherwise, you shouldn't be in this business. And then you'll talk about the execution plans also. Typically, in a very tactical terms, if I was to define it, then I prefer PowerPoint as opposed to Microsoft Word or Excel. I prefer high level, fewer words type slides as opposed to a lot of detail, because nobody reads it anyway. If people are interested, then they will ask you more questions, and at that point you can impress them with the details of your plans. But initially, I think it's very important actually to keep it at high level, and don't email your business plan around like 50 pages of slides to 100 people. Just send them 2-3 pages initially. If they are interested, then you can share more as you go.